Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are wondering whether or not I'm still a minimalist, this is the video for you. The short answer is yes, I am. And the long answer is a lot more interesting. So I've recently come across a term that is used in the natural world, in Greek philosophy, in Carl Jung's psychology, and it is enantiodromia. And enantiodromia is the process by which something becomes its opposite and the subsequent interaction between the two, between the initial state and its opposite. Its definition can kind of depend on how you are actually using the word, but I'm going to be using it in a way that's quite similar to finding equilibrium by alternating between two extremes, essentially. So it's this whole idea of finding balance by first visiting two extremes, and I think that this is something that a lot of us go through. We tend to find ourselves maybe in a rut or, at rock bottom or just in a state where something must change, and we flee to the opposite. And this is relevant because I really don't think that I would have become a minimalist had I not been, Mrs. Hoarder McShopperson all the time, buying all the things, spending all the money and trying to complete myself by buying something and realizing that made me so unhappy and poor. Unhappy and poor, what a combination. Unhappy, poor in a really untidy house. That was the life I was building for myself when I found minimalism. So I was, at this one end of things where I was really unhappy. I had way too much stuff. I was spending all of my money. I felt like I was on this relentless search for something. And then over the course of 3 weeks, I got rid of like 70% of the things that I owned. And before you knew it, I had gone to the other extreme. But it's just crazy how one moment can take you from one extreme to the other in terms of mindset. Obviously, with the whole minimalism thing, it involves a lot of practical work in terms of actually decluttering things, but it was like a switch. It was that one click, as if, you're on a pendulum and you reach one side and all you can do, the only way left to go is back in the opposite direction as far as you can go. So I wouldn't say that I fluctuated that much between the two, we'll call hoarder the opposite of minimalist just for the purposes of this video, because I was kind of along those lines, and obviously I'm talking about my personal story here. So I didn't really fluctuate between those two extremes that much, but I certainly feel like where I am now, I have settled into some form of equilibrium, some form of balance has been restored. I think I've just chilled out a bit. I made a video a while ago called when minimalism goes too far or that kind of thing, and a few of the things I spoke about in that video, they are things that I experienced and I felt. So there was a period of time where I was definitely wearing minimalist as a badge of honor, or I found a little bit too much identity in the name minimalist, which is ironic when one of the main things that minimalism sort of helped me get over was the need to find my identity in the things that I owned. But if I was to think about the main differences between where I am now and where I was when I first went minimalist, I think one of the main ones is I was a little bit too quick and ready to dismiss symbols. I thought that seeing things as symbols of emotions or times or memories or feelings, or just generally feeling some sense of sentimentality towards things, was weak. That's a genuine, I don't know if I ever said this, I probably didn't say it because it seems a little bit too harsh, and I probably knew it was harsh at the time, but I saw it within myself as a weakness to look at something and feel feelings almost. My first experience with minimalism was a very cold minimalism, and I know that minimalism often gets called out for being cold. And again, I do think it was just because it was in a direct reaction to where I started my journey, but I do feel like I had a very cold attitude towards my things for a bit. And because of that, I also thought it was a strength to look at my things purely practically. But you sort of lose a lot of the magic of the world if you view it through that lens. And actually, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about artificial intelligence and how some scientists were trying to make this, for want of a better word, we'll say robot, make this robot see things, actually have the sensory experience of seeing things. But the problem they came across, which they didn't anticipate, was that the robot couldn't distinguish the lines between where one object started and where another one ended. You know, like if you were to view the world as atoms, it's just a whole bunch of atoms. It's very difficult to sort of say that, that sofa is these atoms and that the floor is these atoms. Like the actual, definition, the lines between them, it's not as clear as we think that they should be. But it's our associations and our ability to define things that is what makes us human and is what has gotten us to this point as a species. Our symbolic perception of the world is how we actually have an understanding of the world around us and how we actually navigate it. Seeing things as symbols and having associations and these deeper levels of understanding, we have a lot to thank that for. And I was very quick to dismiss it as if my attitude towards life should be slightly robotic, but I don't think that way anymore. I do think, however, that it is very important not to be too attached to things. So it's all very well and good that you allow yourself to have some sort of sentimental memory or emotion attached to something. But there's a big difference between something giving you a sort of deeper sense of emotion and something being a crutch. So I think sentimental items are great. It's really good that we have something that can trigger something so joyous and pure and integral to the human experience within us. But at the same time, we don't want that to be a crutch. If that thing was taken from you, would you be okay? And if the answer is no to that question, then there's probably some work that needs doing there. I think it's absolutely wonderful to coexist with items that make you feel a certain way and allowing yourself to feel that way, and having nostalgia and having memories and happiness coming from material goods. That's not a problem, but relying too heavily on them as if they are the cure for something or they are there to fix something, that's when potentially the relationship needs to be reassessed. But I'm very pleased to say that there's nothing that I decluttered that I regret decluttering, and even there's not that much that I decluttered that I can even remember owning in the first place, which I think speaks volumes about where I was when I was actually decluttering things. I'm also less inclined to declutter now. I used to declutter quite regularly and I felt like it was something that I should keep on top of, but I sort of just stopped buying things really, and I now live in a place that's very easy to maintain. I don't have that much stuff, but I don't have no stuff. Everything has a home. It's really easy to look after my place, which again was a really important lesson in learning that my environment really does shape how I feel, because I think part of it is my I really like the concepts in Stoicism, and one of those is that you should attempt to be unchanged within yourself, and not have the person you are too dependent on what's going on around you. And so I felt again like it would be a symbol of strength if I could be me regardless of what was going on. But it's just so much easier to be productive and happy when the outside, my environment, is also productive and happy. And I think fundamentally there's just not as much to tidy, and I've come to learn that I am methodically lazy. Like I put a lot of work into being able to be lazy. I feel like I do that. Like I know what I'm like, and so I just try and organize everything so that when the laziness blossoms within me, I don't ruin everything. I think that's my mission. That's my mission. But I owe so much to minimalism. I am who I am today because of minimalism, and I feel quite saved by minimalism in a lot of ways, just because if I extrapolate the line that I was going down, that one extreme of the pendulum, I would just fly off the pendulum handle and I'd be over there somewhere floating about, poor in her untidy home. I think sometimes it's inevitable though. That's the whole concept, by the way. I started the video talking about enantiodromia and sort of forgot about it, but the concept is that once you reach one extreme, the next destination on your route is probably going to be the other extreme. That's one interpretation anyway. Carl Jung's interpretation is somewhat different. But yeah, I am a less militant minimalist, but a much happier person. I'm not saying that's a direct cause. I'm sure you can be militant and happy, but I feel chilled out now. I've chilled. I feel like I can see things much more clearly for what they are. And I think also I'm just generally a lot kinder to myself, because sometimes if you treat life too coldly, which you are at risk of doing in minimalism, you don't leave enough room for humanness. Wonderful humanness. The ability to see the world not necessarily as it is. What even is it? We don't really have anything confirming what is. So why do we concern ourselves so much with thinking that things are necessarily set up this way when that might not be the case? I've gone off the deep end here. We're going to rein it back in, and we're going to conclude yes. The answer is yes. Maybe I should just edit the video there. Just, am I still a minimalist? Yes. That might make a better video. Well, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you're all doing well. I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you in my next video.
Roll up, let me embed a story you'll never forget. A drip, drip, but drowning in debt now. You can't buy your way out, and I heard you find it difficult to cope. Well, here by this bottle full of hope, and